This is Kite Cutter TV with another presentation. We gotta talk about this. Okay, guys, here's another example of Trump putting Americans first. The Trump administration sued Facebook today, claiming the social media giant illegally reserved thousands of jobs for immigrants the company was sponsoring to stay in the United States, instead of looking for qualified American workers to fill the positions. The U.S. Justice Department said Facebook refused to recruit, consider, or hire American workers who could fill 2,600 jobs. Those positions offered an average salary of $156,000 per year, according to a release from the Justice Department today. The two-year investigation found Facebook intentionally created a hiring system in which it denied qualified U.S. workers a fair opportunity to learn about and apply for jobs that Facebook instead sought to channel to temporary visa holders the company was looking to help secure green cards for. If companies deny employment opportunities by illegally preferring temporary visa holders, the Department of Justice will hold them accountable. Our message to all employers is clear, including those in the technology sector. You cannot illegally prefer to recruit, consider, or hire temporary visa holders over U.S. workers. Check this out.
All right, folks, we will go back to that in just a little bit, but I do have some breaking news that I want to get to right here on News Now from Fox, where this is just coming down. The President Trump's administration is now suing Facebook. Let's get into that right here on News Now from Fox. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Trump administration claims Facebook improperly reserved jobs for H-1B workers. The Trump administration has sued Facebook Incorporated, accusing the social media giant of illegally reserving high-paying jobs for immigrant workers it was sponsoring for permanent residents rather than searching for available U.S. residents who could fill the positions. In a 17-page complaint filed today, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division said Facebook inadequately advertised at least 2,600 positions between 2018 and 2019 that were filled by immigrants on H-1B high-skill visas when the company was applying to sponsor those workers for permanent residency, known as green cards. Companies sponsoring workers for employment-based green cards are required to show, as part of the federal application process, that they couldn't find any qualified American workers to fill that job. The suit said Facebook didn't advertise the reserved positions on its website and requires candidates to mail in their applications rather than accepting them online. So we will continue to follow this breaking news story here. We just wanted to bring that to your attention right now. So far, Facebook has no comment on this lawsuit that was just filed there. So bringing you always the latest right here on News Now from Fox.
Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with a story about a certain group of people prosecutors say you need to know about. A gang that made a name for itself in Nashville in the 2000s is back. The indictment of 7 gang members earlier this month is proof of what they are calling the next gen of MS-13. Tonight, prosecutors tell our Jeremy Finley how this once silenced gang made its violent return to Music City.
A student is kidnapped from Glencliff High School as part of an attempted initiation. Bodies are found in burned-out cars near Ashland City. Evidence of what federal prosecutors tell News 4 investigates is the latest version of an old gang.
I would say this is kind of next-gen MS-13.
MS-13 made a name for itself in Nashville in the 2000s, committing a series of brutal murders, marking sections of the city with their graffiti. But after high-profile prosecutions, the gang's activity quieted for years, until 2014. When federal investigators say new members of the gang started running drugs, specifically in nightclubs in South Nashville, trying to once again stake their territory, beginning an intimidation campaign targeting rival gangs in violent shootouts in parking lots.
Why would you tell people they needed to be worried about this gang?
It's indiscriminate. When guns are fired in a parking lot, the bullet, doesn't have a name on it. It could go any number of places.
This new generation, just as brutal, prosecutors say, as their forebears. Telling News 4 investigates, charges are soon coming about those burned bodies in Cheatham County. So what caused this gang, largely controlled out of El Salvador, to return? Prosecutors say, like any organization, their membership waned until a younger group could be brought in. The 7 now indicted are all in their 20s and early 30s.
They were looking to replenish their membership, so I think they've tried to bring more people into town.
Jeremy Finley, News 4 Investigates.
Millions of Americans are getting financial help to make ends meet during the pandemic, but millions of undocumented workers who pay taxes are on their own. Whether the government should offer public assistance to undocumented workers is controversial, but some states are helping anyway. And this is Damaris Posadas. She's a graduate student who lost her full-time job in August. She's now struggling to make ends meet while taking care of her younger sister. And because she's undocumented, she can't apply for public system assistance despite paying taxes.
I've had to message my mom on a few occasions and tell her, Ma, I don't have money for groceries this week. I honestly cannot afford to feed us this week. And so she's been very good at trying to keep up. But that being said, she's also going through a lot of things.
States like California, Washington, Illinois have set aside money to help undocumented immigrants who are unemployed. Nonprofits are trying to help those in states without assistance for undocumented people, but they say it's still not enough. They want federal leaders to step in and help those struggling.
It is a controversial program, not because of what it does, but because of how it became. DACA protects thousands of Central Floridians who were brought to this country as kids.
And with the new administration set to take office on January 20th, Channel 9 political reporter Christopher Heath explains the program is on much more solid footing, but it still faces vulnerabilities.
There are more than 32,000 so-called dreamers in Florida, young adults who as children were brought to the United States illegally. Ellie Garcia is one of them.
This has been my home, part of my home where I grew up, where I was able to dream.
Ellie is protected by DACA, the 2012 program which protects her from deportation. In 2017, President Trump tried to end the program. Over the summer, the U.S. Supreme Court gave Ellie and others like her a lifeline.
Literally, I was in shock. I took a breath and I was like, okay, this is good,
The High Court ruling that DACA could stay only because the Trump administration had not supplied a reason to end the program. But with Trump out of office in less than 2 months, DACA appears safe. For now.
The Trump administration has seemingly run out of time.
Anthony Markham is a federal judiciary expert with the R Street Institute. He notes that the Biden administration has pledged to restore DACA to Obama-era levels.
Once the transition formally goes from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, many of those legal claims and arguments simply aren't going to be the same.
But that doesn't mean that DACA is safe long-term.
The House Democratic majority already passed the Dream and Promise Act.
Central Florida Congressman Darren Soto points out that legislation will be needed to codify DACA into law. If that happens, DACA can stay. If not, it could be vulnerable again depending on what happens in 2024. Recent polling indicates about 3/4 of U.S. adults favor some sort of permanent legal status for immigrants who were brought to the United States illegally as children. Senate Republicans, including Senator Marco Rubio, have said they would like to see a legislative fix, but so far, one has remained elusive. Reporting from Orlando, Christopher Heath, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
Some are hoping a change in administration will lead to a change in President Trump's controversial immigration policies. There is ongoing disagreement over how and if people should come to this country. A human rights activist who spent a lot of time along the Texas-Mexico border shares what he'd like to see with our Anastasia Bolton.
It is easiest to look away.
This was a particularly egregious case of abuse.
Choose not to hear or feel what they must be going through.
The suffering of the children was so strong, so vivid. Now, I could have, and I think that's what most people do, is turn it off. You can turn it off, and you can look away, and you can think about your own life. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stop thinking about it.
Couldn't stop thinking about it. Joshua Rubin was tired of yelling at the TV, as he puts it.
Decided I'd go down to the border.
So in October of 2019, he left his New York home to camp in Tornillo, a town near El Paso, where the U.S. government put up a tent holding facility for migrant children.
The concept was to witness what was going on. It deserved to be seen, and if it was seen, perhaps that would make some sort of a difference.
That's how Witness at the Border began. From Texas to Florida and back to Texas, before the pandemic, of course, people joined Joshua in bearing witness and sharing what they saw.
I'm hoping that by witnessing it, we modified the behavior of people, that we force them to acknowledge that their happiness depends on the happiness of everyone and not look away.
For someone who uses the word hope, who created a movement hoping to help, Joshua hedges when asked about his hope for the new administration.
Hope is a funny word. I don't really know whether I can hope for these things.
He said he wanted changes to how the U.S. handles immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border, a review of deportation policies, but mainly how we look at people needing help.
Right now, the people in Honduras are suffering enormous floods, for instance. The people of Guatemala are suffering famine. And these are things that have to be dealt with as if they were people like we are, as opposed to what we've been doing, which is basically saying they are not of us. We will not treat them as people. This has got to change.
Part of that is not looking away, choosing to hear and feel what people are going through.
We hope that by witnessing these things in the kind of detail that we're watching it now, that we can hand to people who may change policy the information that they need to in order to modify it.
I'm Anastasia Bolton.
The Trump administration has defended its immigration policies, saying they make America safer.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, God bless. Peace.